What up guys, I got y'all joining mid 2JZ teardown. You probably noticed the oil on the belt, so it's about time for me to explain what's going on, what went wrong with the car, and what I'm doing right now. But before that, what's up guys, my name's Kevin, back again with the Sixth Streets YouTube channel. Many of you have probably been here before, and for those of you who haven't, be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for a lot more content regarding this Supra right behind me. And well, I'm getting into a lot more cinematics, vlogs, build videos, you name it, I'm doing all that. So be sure to stay tuned for more. But real quick, let's just hop right into the subject matter of today's video. I pointed out the oil on the belt, and yes, I started leaking oil massively at a car meet out of nowhere, which I really did not expect, and thank God it happened in the car meet's parking lot. Alright guys, future me is interrupting the video for now. Just had a couple things to say real quick, and I'll have to come back in later in the video because I needed an outro. But really quick, just want to shout out everybody who was able to help me out with the car. You guys are the whole reason I was able to fix this thing and have this video being posted. I want to start with Cody, CJ Built. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Be sure to check him out and subscribe. I'll put his channel and Instagram in the description. Also his girlfriend Christy, my buddy Abraham. You three helped me push the car for about 50 minutes to Cody's house. My homeboy Panda, you spotted the leak, told me it was 2050 and E85, and I was like, God damn, I got a problem. And this man came for Rick Toes to tow the car from Cody's place over here. And also a couple buddies from high school, Chris, Howard, helping me track the leak, find the leak, everything. And there were a lot more of you. And also Gabriel, put your Instagram below. I mention you later in the video too. But I appreciate the parts hookup, and that's pretty much what helped me start working on this car really quickly and put me in the position to be back on the road. And back to the video. So yeah, we're mid teardown, already got the crank pulley off. You are gonna need something like this Harbor Freight steering wheel puller that I used on this. And then we also have the upper timing cover off. There's just 5mm Allen's holding it in, nothing too difficult to remove. And our radiator. So the rest of this video is pretty much just gonna be 2JZ teardown, you know, all the timing stuff that you generally have to take apart, get an extension. But yeah, that's all we're doing for today. I don't think we're gonna put this thing together because Harry did mention getting the oil pump shimmed after I had tuned it, because we are getting to the higher horsepower numbers, and a little bit of extra oil pressure could save you once you're approaching the higher numbers with a stock block 2J. And even with a built motor, you do want that extra oil pressure when you're revving that high. Although with this one, to be honest, I don't really plan on it ever becoming a very high revving car. Okay, so I spot a trail of oil here. Why is that? We're probably gonna have to pour some extra motor oil and fire this thing up momentarily to spot what's going on. A belt change is always a consideration since you're already here, even if it's somewhat new. Same with the timing belt tensioner. The harmonic balancer, obviously we've taken care of that issue. We have the fluid dampers, so I'm just going to throw that thing back in. Although I will look at the service interval because I know those do need service. Water pump, very new. If a 20-year-old one didn't give me problems other than a leak, this one's probably okay, so I probably wouldn't replace it, although possibly, right? Possibly would. And what else can we think of? Pulleys? Yeah, I can replace pulleys, although that's more of an aesthetic and weight thing. It's not that big a deal. Alright guys, so I didn't think this through, but I should have undid the water pump pulley before doing the damn crank pulley. Thank God for impact tools. Cool. All ready to go. I would go ahead and turn all these aluminum, but it's quite a bit of bread at the moment, so I'll skip that for now. At the end of the day, that's just a showpiece. It doesn't really matter too much, although hey, I would like a clean car. Although I like to think this is somewhat clean. I think, right? These are quite covered in oil, which leads me to believe my prediction of this being the front main being pretty damn accurate. Removing the timing guide, well, the secondary timing guide, and then we're good to pull this off. Oh, there you go. All right, so we can't really see where it's leaking from right away. We're probably gonna have to dump some oil into it, start it, and see what exactly is causing our problem. So guys, confirmed, it is in fact the front main seal. I fired it up for a brief moment, which I wouldn't recommend doing necessarily, but hey, to be certain of where it's coming out is the best way. You're looking at everything. There's no way you can go wrong here. It just pissed it all right out the bottom right here. Everything else, as you see, is pretty dry. Generally anything else is just kind of splattered everywhere else, but nothing is like a direct source from the top or from the oil pump itself here. So front main seal. All right guys, one thing I want to emphasize, be very careful where you place the woodruff keys. I believe that's how you pronounce it, I'm not too sure. But you have one for the harmonic balancer and you have another one for the timing gear. But yeah, these little tiny pieces can be very easily lost and are very important. So to avoid any hassle, I actually had to buy another one last time because I lost my original. Yeah, just keep them in a Ziploc, keep them somewhere safe. Make sure you don't lose this. There you go. That's one of the timing guides. And the secondary one is this really, really small one right there that you usually pry off with a flathead. I think that's the way I'm gonna get it now. And then I'll pick it up later. Alright guys, so to get the tension off, you got two tools right here, very simple. Oh, I forgot, I'm probably gonna have to undo the alternator so I can get to that one. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do that. And you can see the mess. Well, this is all coolant from when I drained it. But you can see the whole mess of motor oil dripping down the pan onto the subframe, unfortunately, which we had just painted, cleaned, and the whole rack, everything was good to go. I'd rather get as much as I can done today, and when I get myself to come out, I'm ready to put this thing back together and hit the road, or get more upgrades done. I don't know how this is gonna go, man. All right, so now we have room to get the tensioner 100%, no problems. We have some slack, and then we'll worry about putting the alternator back in 100% later on. Okay, so we have the tensioner partially off how I wanted to. We do have enough slack to remove the belt, but before we do so, I'm gonna try bring this back to top dead center. You can see right there, there's a dot on the oil pump. You line this up. There's a little mark on the timing gear right there. When I light it up, you can probably see. You line it up with the dot, and then you make sure the cams are lined up at the top. This one's much more self-explanatory. But yeah, that's how you can set TDC without your harmonic balancer on. All right, there we go. Belt off. Seems in decent condition. Probably don't need a new one. All right guys, so once again, the Harbor Freight puller coming through. There we go. Actually, let me give the homie Gabriel a shout out real quick. I'll put his Instagram right here. He was at that car meet with his 2JZ, well, Aristo swapped GS300. Very clean car. It is for sale, by the way, if any of you guys would like to purchase it. He is selling that car. But he was there and he actually had a full timing kit in the back of his car. And so he hooked me up. Cam seals, in case my cam seals were the problem, and I got a crank seal. So technically I could get to work on this thing and finish it tonight, but I just want to make sure of all those other things I mentioned. Then we'll figure out what to do, and I'll probably have a little more energy left over to get it all done tomorrow. What up guys, day 2 of the teardown slash front main repair, and now we're turning it into an oil shimming process as well. Oil shimming, oil pump shimming. So yeah, we're doing all that. So far, been pretty productive so far over the past day or so. But really quick, I did end up on another quest that I did not really expect to end up on, and that's adding the other radium fitting. This one was added when it was at Big Wood Performers, Mario's shop. He put that one. I'll show you what I did. Literally just with the tools I'm holding and this little thing right here. I don't even know what you would call this, but it's part of the PCB or whatever. Just have it in there and kind of turn it up so you can get a grip on it. put a wrench on it, and then just hammer it out. I do have the other fitting in the freezer, so I'll go inside, grab that, do the dash, and put this thing in. Alright, so once your thing's icy as hell, just run to the car and try to put this thing as quick as you can, so you take advantage of the metal being shrunk, and then just tap this thing in as best you can. So ideally you should do this with a rubber mallet so you don't hurt this thing, but I had to get a little wrench and finish it off like that with a hammer. This is the nice thing about these. You can see they pivot, so wherever you put your catch can, you got no issue. It also keeps it very nice and tight to the valve cover. So it is a very clean fit. Shimming the oil pump does mean we have to remove the water pump even if nothing's wrong, and then I am going to have to wait on another gasket. Okay guys, so we had to go way deeper than I expected, simply because when trying to remove the water pump, I realized that removing the water pump means you got to remove this back cover. So removing this back cover would mean removing the cam gears, which means removing the valve covers and spark plug cover to get to everything. And now you do have to work with the cam. So I'm going to show how I did that. I already loosened this side. This 1 1/4 inch open wrench is doing the trick for me. Then you just need a 17 for your cam gear bolt. Have this hold it and give a resistance. There we go. That's how you get it done. Much easier access to this right here that we had to take off, and we'll be able to finish getting the water pump off, no issues. This pulley is a nut and bolt, so we have to get rid of the whole tensioner and bracket ourselves. Sway bar caught it. We're good. All right, looks like nothing is holding our water pump. Just gonna round off the day. Try to get this thing off right here. All right, there we go. Loosen that. Okay guys, so unfortunately I do not have the water pump gasket today, so I'm not going to be able to get a whole lot of progress on this thing to put it back together. I already went to the hardware store. You want to go ahead and get some washers that match the outside diameter of the spring, so that it can pretty much perfectly go into either this top side here, or you can put it on the piston. Our washer is just over 5 thousandths. So you can see it's a very, very close fit to this right here. And it actually fits pretty much perfectly in this little piston on the bottom that goes in the pump. And it also fits very easily in there in the top side. So both work for you. Now as far as how much you can shim it. Now referring to Raddan's video, he used one shim only that was about 62 thousandths thick. Raddan did do the full porting and everything to make sure the oil flows better and generates a little bit more pressure as well. We are only shimming it here. Originally I was gonna run 3 shims, which was about 4 millimeters, but to be honest, the more I read on the 2JZ forums and everything, the more I just saw people either A, did not really shim the pump at all, or B, they used more conservative settings, so about 1.5 mil, which our washers are about 1.5 millimeters thick. They shim them about 1.5, or they go ahead and shim it maybe 2 to 2.5. So I'm gonna go ahead and run 1 washer just to prevent worsening anything that wasn't already there. This is something that not a lot of guys really go ahead and do anyway to begin with. But this is good safety, and I'm gonna show you guys how exactly I tighten this up now that I have to do it again. Most people will tell you you got to struggle with 2 people, but to be honest, with 1 person I kind of found this easier because you have full control of, well, the whole process, right? As you see, fat extension and this 15/16 to tighten it. You take your really fat extension, put it behind the wires, and time to push. Try to get this in as best as possible. And now use the fingers to find the thread. Try to keep the pressure continuous as much as possible, and try to keep it in the center. It can be quite difficult, like it's already giving me some resistance. All right, come on. And I believe it already caught, but I'm just gonna keep this there to prevent anything from happening. Is it? Yeah, it caught. So this would be the way, if you do shim the oil pump, to put it back together almost immediately by yourself. As you see, this took me like 30 seconds. Of course, I struggled a lot more on my own before this because I didn't really know of this way to do it. So I'm not immune to the struggles, guys, just showing you what I've already learned so you don't have to go through it yourself. So just clean the hell out of this thing, just so you guys know. Best procedure would be a little razor blade if you do have silicone on it, the way I did, to get that off. Maybe a little steel wool to clean the surface. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the steel wool to also clean the mating surface on the motor, so that we just have a cleaner install and we can make sure there are no leaks whatsoever. So now we're just going to put a little bit of RTV around the outside, how I've done on the tip there. Just a bit in some areas to help this stick. You can see it's just a pretty light coat around the gasket that I put, and then just drape it onto the water pump as it should fit. So I did manage to get the water pump in correctly. Now, when you're going to shim the oil pump, I would definitely suggest maybe removing the entire water pump, including the back half, because the fact I left it in and then this little bolt kind of put pressure on this, it kind of threw it off center. It did cause some difficulty putting the water pump back in, so I did have to struggle for a lot longer than I should have doing this. I did get it in correctly though, everything's good. Just gonna change my seal now, and then the rest of it is just piecing back together what you guys already saw. What I've done, you can take a couple of different things to this front main seal to take it off. Most people prefer a really small flathead, and this is what has worked for me the best. Kind of stick it in between, right around there, and then you're able to pry after you do enough of that. Come on, there we go. Out she goes. Front main seal off. There's no spring on it. Seal looked basically perfect before I started doing all this, trying to get this out. I really hope the cause of this was simply this spring right here not really doing its job. Otherwise, maybe we do have something more serious going on here and we just don't know it yet. But hey, let's finish the job, hope for the best. I don't really think anything else could have caused this, other than maybe just a crankcase pressure, which we have the proper fittings in, and we just got to get the catch can sorted out, and then we have all of this taken care of. Before sliding in your new seal, of course, clean your surface. I use some brake cleaner and some shop towels that I have over there. That's what I used to clean the surface. And also you want to lube up the seal pretty well with grease, oil. I was actually suggested Vaseline as well. I ended up using some VR1 I had outside from a spare bottle. But yeah, just lube up the seal so you don't cook it up on the first start, and then just slide it in and try to tap it in as evenly as possible. I'm going to slide it in, and then I have a DIY tool that I kind of made the last time I did this. Now we're going to let the tool do the rest of the job so we don't risk pushing something too far into one side with our fingers. And this is our tool, actually, just made out of PVC. You can get this about as close to the diameter of the front main as possible to help it out, and that would help do the trick as far as pushing it in. So the front main is in now. I used my tool to start the process. However, toward the end, it wasn't really doing the job. I guess the depth isn't really correct. So I did have to use this with a little hammer and just hit it in from the sides, try to do it as evenly as possible. It seems we have a pretty even lip around it, so I would think we're okay. Now I'm just going to tighten the cam gears, and we're probably going to try to give it a start when I put the crank gear in. For your cam gear bolts, it's 60 foot-pounds, the torque spec. There we go. All right, perfect. I did not change the cam seals because they're very new as well. The fact this happened with the front main was very unexpected. This timing job was done in like late 2020, and the car barely has miles on it as well. So this was very, very unexpected when it did happen. This pulley, I tried to take it off alone to be able to take off the water pump, but no, your entire bracket has to come off. I tried and there was no shot this was going to come off. This does have to be torqued to 20 foot-pounds, and you should use some Loctite on it. Perfect, 20 foot-pounds. There's probably a better way of putting this gear in, but what I do, I put my hardware and then just bang it home. That's pretty much the way I do it, because I got nothing else here that can really help. I hope none of these end up breaking. Okay guys, so I'm getting ready to just put the cover on and put the damper. Got our alternator back on, tensioner, timing is set. I didn't get to show much of that, but to set your timing, just make sure all the marks are aligned accordingly as needed. And then if you're going to reuse your tensioner, you are going to have to pull it out completely. Just use something like this, like the C-clamp here, to just press down the little cylinder that gives the tension, and put a pin through it, or anything you have. Like I use this tiny little Allen, and the way I did it so that it wouldn't pull or push the timing further back or forward was I would partially put in the tensioner, check everything, and then play with it if needed. And if not, just put it all the way in, then just pull your little pin that you have holding the cylinder, and you'll be fine. So from here on out, it's the simple stuff, guys. Just putting on the covers and the damper. All right, so we're looking more and more complete, guys. We got everything in again. All we're missing, balancer. That's it. This is going to be a little bit tough because this little key does like to move around. Let me turn on my headlamp so you guys see. That does like to move around when you're trying to install the balancer. I'll let you guys know how I get around it. I don't have a lot of space left on my car, and I haven't imported, so I'm trying to conserve that. And just to show you guys, we did finish the project. She's back together. Everything nicely put together. I just really got to clean this car up. I even got my fingerprints all over the front. So yeah, she's running and driving now. Feels great. Everything that I did not film was some pretty simple stuff. However, I will detail that the harmonic balancer, it is much easier if you do have a second person helping you slide it on, and also hold the little key down in place with maybe a flathead or something, and then just kind of hit it with a rubber mallet so that it goes into place. Just wanted to detail that. And also, I did end up having to take the car apart a second time as far as the cooling system. I had to take this out to do a bolt check because the power steering pump was moving around. There were a couple loose bolts, and also for the AC compressor. So that took some extra time, but yeah, took it on a drive already. Feels great. And I did get oil pressure numbers. The whole reason I was afraid to shim any more than I did was not only because of what I read online, but because oh, I don't have my tablet here, but I'll just start it so you guys see the car working and not leaking. And we got a working blower motor now. It was actually the heater relay that had burned out, so that's why that wasn't working before. but she's all good now. And you can see no leaks, everything's fine. Floor's dry, all good down here. So, done deal with this car. As I was saying, I only added one shim simply because I did not have a proper base measurement of what the car was doing on the street. Now I found out that with one shim, I have like 30.5 psi at idle and about 79 when the car is accelerating. I haven't taken it all the way up to the higher RPM, so I'm not 100% sure what it'll do in that regard. But yeah, I don't have the tablet here to show you guys, but I already know what it's pushing. It could possibly use a little bit more of a shim, but for now this is definitely better than nothing. And yeah, we're good to go. And yeah, I gotta showcase the audio system real quick. Man, I love this thing now, seriously. It's so much better. AC, power steering, we got radio, we got it all now. Because actually we did charge up AC too after the blower mode is working. And yes, it is working just fine, but I do have to replace a couple things and completely evacuate and fill the system. So once that's done, I guess we can call this car a very, very well done street car. And hey, she gets down for sure. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for a lot more on the channel. If you got any ideas of videos you'd like to see, whether it be cinematics, vlogs, or build videos, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. Or if you want to see me talk about any topics in the car scene, been thinking of doing that too, drop some in the comments and I'll go ahead and cover that stuff. Glad to say I can be enjoying this thing now. And yeah, catch you guys in the next video.